Hi again, this is my video for 2025 looking at AQA A Level Chemistry Paper 2. I'm calling it predictions. What we're really looking at is what comes up every year, what's most likely to come up, where we could best focus the time that we've got left. As always, when we say we're looking at what we can expect, always expect the unexpected, always make sure that you try to cover as much of the specification as possible. This is just some hopefully useful guidelines for you. And at the end, please stick with it because I'm just going to talk you through some free resources and some other really good value stuff that can help you with your revision. So, topics worth the most marks in paper 2. For AQA, paper 2 is a bit of a mixed paper. So it's going to include all of the organic chemistry, and it's also going to include some physical topics. In particular, there is always a lot on rate equations and mechanisms. So determining the rate equation either from tables, make sure that you can also do that from graphs, and linking that to the mechanism of the reaction, because of course there's always going to be some organic mechanisms in this paper as well. And there's an awful lot on amounts and calculations, so that goes through all of your A-level chemistry, but make sure that you are particularly happy with your mole calculations for this paper. In terms of organic, there's a lot of organic chemistry in the specification. Carboxylic acids and their derivatives, so we're talking acyl chlorides and esters and acid anhydrides. That is a very, very common theme that is worth a lot of marks in paper 2 every year, as are KC and KP. Now, if you have already done paper 1, hopefully you can remember what came up in paper 1 in terms of, was it KC, was it KP, maybe it was only Ka or pH calculations. So having an idea of what's already been will help you. When I'm making this video, I haven't seen paper 1, so I don't know. And of course, NMR and analysis are very important. And with analysis, I'm also talking about qualitative, i.e. just things like chromatography, like infrared, and also just chemical tests for organic functional groups. I would say the second most common organic functional group is going to be your benzene as well, but I really be careful of just saying, oh, it's going to be this functional group and not that functional group, because most questions are about synthesis, about steps and pathways. They are usually going to involve more than one functional group and the interconversions between them. So try not to be revising organic chemistry one functional group at a time. Make sure you know how they link together. So you should always be revising these topics really well. These are quite big areas, rate equation and mechanism. So try to break it down a little bit more into things that are real dead certs. Electrophilic addition, doesn't matter if it came up last year or the year before or the year before that, it's coming up again. Make sure that you know electrophilic addition, that you know your alternate products. Make sure that you know your orders and rate determining step and how they link together, and make sure, if you've only got time to revise one type of NMR, that would be weird, but make sure that it's proton NMR, i.e. hydrogen NMR. Carbon NMR, sure, is good. Hydrogen NMR is where the bigger marks are worth, because there's more they can ask you, there's more information you can get from that. Ideal gas calculation is very common because there is a link there between things like hydrocarbons and unknown compounds, binding the MR of an organic compound using gas calculations. And other empirical formula calculations. Organic functional group tests I've already mentioned. Don't miss those out because they are predictable marks. You've got time to learn it unless you're watching this the night before. So keep at it and it will stick. And then you've got your equilibrium calculations, as I've said, KC and KP. Obviously, look at what came up in paper 1 and hopefully you already revised them for paper 1. So in terms of specific topics, this is just, again, my basis. I haven't seen the exam. If I had, then this would be highly, highly unethical and, illegal probably. So I haven't seen the exam, but what I've seen is all the years before, and I've gone through spreadsheets looking at trends, looking at patterns. I do think in terms of mechanisms that you should go back over your nucleophilic addition elimination. So that's sometimes referred to as acylation, not acylation of benzene, but basically the formation of an ester or an amide from acyl chlorides and from carboxylic, and that's just from acyl chlorides really. So making sure that you can do that is a complicated mechanism, but because of that, it's worth extra marks. DNA and amino acids, wasn't a huge amount on that last year. I'm also thinking, just certainly things like the zwitterion comes up very regularly. The structure of amino acids at different pH values is useful to know, and optical isomerism in relation to amino acids. Polymers, and in relation to that, amines and amides, so polyamides, I think that is a good area to look at, particularly sort of formation of polymers, drawing repeat units, that kind of thing. And Arrhenius equation. So some of these topics, DNA, amino acids, Arrhenius equations, amines, etc., you're never quite sure if they're going to come in paper 2 or paper 3, but of course you've got to revise paper 2 first, and so therefore, if Arrhenius equation comes up in paper 3, that's not going to be a big issue. You'll already have covered it. And then reactivity of benzene. So there's always going to be quite a bit of benzene in paper 2. Last year was a big heavy focus on the thermodynamics and the structure and the stability. I think that this time it might be more like looking at the electrophilic substitution and maybe comparing it to something that's more reactive, like an alkene. So a comparison of different mechanisms is quite common in the longer mark questions. So please, again, don't put all your little mechanisms and functional groups in boxes. So for example, when you do nucleophilic addition, could you compare it to nucleophilic substitution? When you do electrophilic addition, could you compare it to electrophilic substitution, and so on? So actually spotting the links between functional groups. And last, as I said, I would just give you some advice about stuff on my website. If you can't find anything on my website, just drop a comment or send me an email, claire@ckchemistry.co.uk. Because I know sometimes it's just you lose something. There is a section called A Level Chemistry Resources. You'll find retrieval practice quizzes. You'll find practice questions and walkthroughs there. And you'll also, particularly for calculations, but you'll also find a whole section labelled organic chemistry. I've got some summaries of the different types of organic reaction, things like electrophilic substitution, electrophilic addition, that will help you revise. I've got a load of multiple choice quizzes, which would be more helpful for paper 3, and they've got video walkthroughs. So all of these are free. I've got practice papers and predicted papers from 2025 back to 2023 for AQA. So that's 3 years worth, so there's 9 papers available. So I call my predicted paper for 2025, that's a predicted paper. The last 2 years of predicted papers I think are still useful to practice, because sometimes some things come up every year. So it's just variations on the same type of question, if you see what I mean. And then I've also got a whole booklet of what I call extended response. So we talked about possible 6 markers. That has got, I think, 21 different 6 to 8 mark question examples to work through, and then a whole book of calculations questions. Those last 2 resources, they're not free, but the price starts at like £2.79. So I don't charge huge amounts for my resources, and I don't make you buy every single one if you don't want to. I try to give students affordable options as much as possible. I don't give everything away for free because it does take an awful lot of my time. And then a couple of other things that are really, really affordable options. If you wanted more detailed videos or more detailed practice questions on a particular topic, my revision masterclass package is £5 per month. You've got 1 month left, so that's £5. So £5 will get you 23 different topics, including lots of organic, lots of calculations based stuff, and each of those will have a set of practice questions, checklists, so you know what you're supposed to know. And then each one has a whole hour-long masterclass video, which is a recorded lesson from previous group lessons that I've done. And in those, we really get through into the trickier examples, weird questions that have come up, common student mistakes, how to apply it in an exam context. So also included in that is the extended response and the calculations booklet and a whole calculations course. So if you're struggling with calculations, it's got every single type of calculation that you would want to try. So that's £5. Or if you really wanted a lot extra help, I'm doing a half-term intensive course, which is £125 per student. That's a really small groups, so I would contact me quickly if you have. It's on the 27th of May, so hopefully you haven't missed it if you're interested. And then everyone who signed up to that automatically gets a place in my exam prep classes too. Exam prep classes, slightly bigger groups, but still live lessons, interactive. You get a lot of opportunity to ask questions. The difference between these and the masterclasses, obviously these are live, these are for this year. So it'll be new material, be more based up to date because it'll be more based on previous papers, and it'll be more tailored around what students are asking me to cover. So that's the difference. The half-term intensive is very much trying to get all the tricky topics, like understanding them a lot more and applying them, and a lot of exam technique advice. And then there are 3 exam prep classes. So that £35 is for 3 classes. 2 90-minute classes and 1 hour class. They are each 2 days before the exam. So there's a 90-minute class 2 days before paper 1, 90-minute class 2 days before paper 2, 1 hour class the day before paper 3. So that's less than £10 an hour to be in the live class. You also get all of the masterclass videos and practice questions with that, which also comes with 2024 predicted papers and videos. And you get a recording of the exam course in case you missed it as well. If you're on the half-term intensive, you get everything basically. You get all the exam classes, plus all the recordings, plus the 2025 predicted papers and the walkthrough videos. If you only just want to access recordings, £25 will get you the recording for the exam classes and the half-term intensive. So I think that's really good value because you're getting like an extra 10 hours of support for £25. And anyone who's on any of these, have a question, email me. There's only one person who works at CK Chemistry. There's me. So you won't get a chatbot or anyone else. If you've got a question about anything, you'll get me answering your questions. If you put a comment on YouTube, I will answer that comment unless I'm asleep or whatever. You know, if it's 30 minutes before the exam, I might not see it. So do feel free, drop your questions, and if you've done paper 2, come back, pop in the comments, let me know what was on it, because it really helps for my paper 3 prediction videos as well.